Hey everybody. As someone involved in both aviation and filmmaking, both as a YouTuber and from working on the Discovery series Dangerous Flights, I've had a lot of experience filming aircraft both in the air and on the ground. My name is Kerry McCauley and welcome to my channel. Now, filming in aviation has its own unique challenges. Obviously, the more difficult shots are the airborne shots. To get those, you either have to mount cameras on the plane itself or get a separate plane to use as a camera ship to do air-to-air filming. Now, while the air-to-air shots can be challenging and somewhat risky, the ground shots can be risky as well because cameramen always want to get as close to the action as possible, and on a takeoff or landing, they want to be as close to the center line as possible so they're really close to the plane as it goes past them. And that's obviously dangerous. Standing on a runway as a plane is taking off or landing is, just not a really good idea. When I was on the show Dangerous Flights, our cameraman always wanted to get a takeoff or landing shot, and I always insisted that they stand off the runway, off to the side, because you never know what's going to happen. Even off to the side can have its dangers. I mean, a plane can blow a tire, or the pilot can lose control a little bit and go off the runway and possibly strike the cameraman. I wasn't really worried about that. I've never gone off the runway. I've never had a blown tire. Not saying that it couldn't happen, but that was a level of risk that both me and the cameraman decided that we could accept. But this isn't always the case. There's been a number of times over the years that pilots have struck people on the ground while they're trying to film a takeoff or landing. The worst was a helicopter incident. There was, I think it was in 2001 at Rantoul, the World Freefall Convention. There was a Huey there giving helicopter rides, and he always had some pretty amazing rides. The skydivers loved it. He would do a really, really amazing takeoff. He would come, keep it low to the ground, nap of the earth right after takeoff, and he'd come banking around this corner in the cornfield. And a cameraman came up and said, "Hey, can I stand out there and get a video of you buzzing me as you do this takeoff?" And the pilot wisely said, "Absolutely not. That's super dangerous. No, don't do that." And unfortunately, the cameraman decided, well, he's just being an old woman. I'm going to do it anyway. And what he did is he went into the corn and hid in the corn and waited for the helicopter to take off and start coming toward him. And then he jumped out of the corn to get the video. Unfortunately, he jumped out just as the helicopter was coming at him and banking. And unfortunately, the rotor struck the cameraman and killed him. And that was probably one of the dumbest ways to die I've ever heard. But, really selfish thing to do on the cameraman's part, because not only did he lose his life, but he traumatized that poor pilot. I mean, can you imagine being that pilot and striking someone with your rotors as you're just trying to have a good, fun day flying skydivers? I mean, that was just a really irresponsible thing for the cameraman to do. Last week, though, we had it happen again. There was a skydiving school in Argentina that the chief instructor at the school wanted to get some video for their company's website. And so he had the great idea that he was going to stand out on the runway right on the center line and have the club's 182 take off right over him, and he'd get some really cool shots. Unfortunately, it didn't go as planned, and after takeoff, the report is that the pilot leveled off and flew at the instructor, who was standing there with the camera, and pulled up too late and struck him with both the propeller and the nose wheel, killing him instantly. After that, the pilot then lost control of the plane, went off the runway, flipped it. Luckily, he and his passenger weren't seriously injured, but totaled the airplane and killed the instructor. I mean, it's a dumb thing to do. And there's a couple things they probably weren't thinking about. Number one, if you really did take off and level off and stay in ground effect to get a bunch of speed going, which is likely because, as the pilot, you're going to want to go as fast as possible and really buzz the heck out of the camera. I mean, that's what you want to do. You want to get that great shot. Well, you're going really fast, and it's hard to judge. The pilot never practices this. I mean, how often do we first of all remain in ground effect and do this show-off land or takeoff? But you never do it with an obstacle that you're trying to get as close to as possible. So it's easy to misjudge this. But the second thing they might not have thought about is if he wasn't doing that, or even if he was, When you're taking off, what happens? Well, when you rotate, you lift the nose of the plane, and the instrument panel is going to rise up, and the nose is rising up, and you can't see all the way down the runway. Very likely that when the pilot rotated, he lost sight of the instructor, so now he's, probably concerned, so he lowers the nose, and maybe that's where the instructor was. We're not 100% sure of the sequence of events, but standing right on the center line as a pilot's taking off is just a really stupid idea, because you never know the skill level of the pilot either. There's been a couple of times that people have been struck by planes like this in the past. Like, here's a video of a pilot flying what looks like a J-3 Cub in World War II colors, buzzing a reporter, and as he goes past him, he dips the wing and hits the reporter.
I thought he'd been killed and shouted for him to get an ambulance.
Now, unbelievably, the reporter was fine. Apparently, it just grazed him, but it was an ugly sound and just decked that reporter. But, a couple inches lower, and that definitely could have killed him. So, that pilot wasn't quite skilled enough for what he was doing. There's another video that there's a Spitfire buzzing a reporter. This guy actually does a pretty good job of it.
The Spitfire prototype K5054 made its first ever flight from the Supermarine Works at Eastleigh in southern England, heralding the start of a legend that is just as powerful today as it was during those dark years of World War II.
Yeah, I imagine that scared the heck out of him, because that guy was pretty low. And luckily, he was off to the side. It was the wing that went over the reporter's head, not the propeller. I mean, that was a pretty low buzz job. So, skill, probably. Anyway, if you're going to be getting these shots, you got to stay off to the side of the runway. I mean, even that's not a real safe idea. I mean, most people should just stay well off, stay on the ramp and use a zoom lens or something like that. Don't stand on the runway. And definitely don't stand on the center line if you want to get these shots. I mean, people are making lots of YouTube videos these days, like me, and you want to get those really cool shots, but you got to be smart about it. Don't stand in the runway. All right. Well, that's all I got for now. As always, don't forget to see. All right. Well, that's all I got for now. Thanks for watching. And as always, don't forget to keep your speed up.